Hello, my name is Sean Matheson, and I'd like to welcome everyone to the Tuesday World Meditation. Due to the pandemic, we're no longer broadcasting from the sanctuary in Boulder, Colorado, so you join me here in my home in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, Canada. This sacred time and space is dedicated to our shared practice of entering stillness and of giving together. Let us first surround and protect ourselves with the love and the grace of God. Before we begin our meditation, I would like to share a passage from the New Message about practice. Tonight I'll be reading from Preparing for the Greater Community, from chapter 6, Finding Knowledge. Gaining a greater community understanding and perspective is certainly quite essential in preparing for the greater community itself. But alone, this would not be enough. Here you could not rely simply upon the power of your intelligence or your will in order to gain the discernment that you would need in order to function within a more complicated mental environment. You would need more than mental power or willpower in order to function successfully in this environment. For no matter how powerful you might become as an individual, your power will be insignificant compared to the power of the group mind that represents the real dynamics of interaction in the mental environment within the greater community itself. Therefore, here you must call upon a greater power, a greater intelligence, a greater strength within yourself. We call this knowledge. It is represented by your ability to know. When we use this word knowledge, we're not speaking of a body of information or a set of ideas or something you would learn in a university. We are talking about the potency of your spiritual mind. Very few people understand what this is really. Perhaps they accept that they have a spiritual nature. And perhaps they can accept theoretically that they are spiritual beings, that there is something eternal about them, and that this connects them with the divine. But in order for this to be truly relevant here, and for your spirituality to be truly comprehended, you must recognize that your spirituality represents a mind within you, a greater mind, a mind beyond the personal mind with which you think and calculate. We call this mind knowledge. It is the knowing mind within you. And its importance in understanding your ability to function in the mental environment is critical. Knowledge possesses for you your true mission and purpose in life. It has maintained for you the greater understanding of why you have come into the world, who you must meet here, and what you must accomplish. That is not to say that everything that will happen is preordained, but that you have certain things to accomplish and certain relationships to establish within the context of this individual life. This represents your destiny within the world, and the knowledge of this destiny and the power to discover it and to fulfill it reside within knowledge within you. Now, some people will ask, well, this is the subconscious mind. And I say, no, it is not the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is still part of your personal mind, the mind that is directly connected to your physical existence. Knowledge represents your eternal mind, your spiritual mind, but it is not simply a being. It is a mind that thinks. It is mind that has a purpose and a mission and a direction in life. When you become close to knowledge, when you begin to come close to knowledge, when you take the steps to knowledge, you begin to experience and to receive the great purpose that knowledge has for you. And in time, you will come to fully realize that this purpose is your own and that it represents your true desire and your true will in life. The reclamation of knowledge represents the essence of spiritual discovery and spiritual development. Knowledge is waiting to be discovered and reclaimed. Should you become a student of knowledge and travel the way of knowledge and learn to live the way of knowledge, then eventually your personal mind and the greater mind within you will unite and become one. Here you will become fully integrated, and your power and your meaning and potency as an individual will become fully demonstrated in the world. Knowledge is calling for you even at this moment to come to it, to receive it, to receive its wisdom, to receive its counsel, and to receive its direction as your own. This is the great spiritual calling within you, and it is occurring at this moment. Please join me now in a 30-minute stillness practice. Take whatever time you need with your own step to read it and prepare, and then when you're ready, enter stillness. Nazi Nabare Karam. While we're in this place of stillness, I would like to read a few passages from the new message about the new messenger. I'll be reading from God Has Spoken Again, chapter 6, which is the revelation, the mission of the messenger, as revealed to Marshall V. N. Summers on April 10th, 2012, in Boulder, Colorado. God has sent a new revelation into the world, unlike anything that has been sent for over 1,000 years. A messenger has been sent into the world, a messenger who led a somewhat ordinary life, a messenger who is a humble man and who has been in a very long preparation for his role. While others may claim such a title to be a messenger of God, in truth, there is only one who was sent into the world. Heaven knows this, of course, though people will make their other claims and assertions. People are afraid of the messenger. They're afraid of what it might mean for them, how it might change their ideas, or how it might call them into some kind of greater service or association. Many people will reject God's new revelation purely on this basis alone, because they're afraid that there is a new revelation in the world that could alter the course of human history and destiny, and that would change many of the prevailing notions and beliefs that have been institutionalized and so well established. But the creator of all life is not bound by these things and only provides the essential message and revelation for the welfare of humanity and for the humanity's future and destiny, both within the world and within a greater community of life in the universe. God's new revelation is more expansive and inclusive and detailed than anything that has ever been brought into the world before. It is being given at a time when the human family has become literate and is participating in a world civilization and economy with international communication. It is a very different environment than any of the previous revelations, which were very regional in nature and which only spread over a great span of time through much discord, conflict, and violence. Humanity stands at a threshold of a universe full of intelligent life. A non-human universe that it must now learn to contend with. And humanity is living in a world of developing resources in a world of declining resources and environmental instability, unlike anything that has ever been seen for thousands of years. Even your history cannot account for what this might mean, except for the history of the earth itself. The revelation brings its own commentary. It's not simply a mysterious teaching that is left up to human interpretation, as has been the case before. This revelation is complete and comprehensive, touching on nearly every aspect on an individual's life and the life of humanity, both now and in the future. And yet, like all the revelations in history, it speaks of greater things than humanity's concerns today. It speaks of things which will make all the difference in whether humanity chooses to unite in a declining world or whether it will fight and struggle over who has access to the remaining resources. It will make all the difference in whether humanity can prepare for its engagement with the greater community, which is already taking place due to an intervention in the world today by races who are here to take advantage of human weakness, conflict, and expectation. A message so great has required a tremendous preparation for the messenger and for those few individuals who have been called to assist him in his preparation and proclamation. He is not here to answer every question or to have a solution for every need. His message speaks to the need of the soul within the individual, the need to reconnect with the source of life and to gain the strength that God has given every person through the presence of a deeper intelligence within them called knowledge. The messenger is not here to argue or to debate or to take issue with world affairs or the ambitions of different groups, nations, or tribes. He is here to bring a message of revelation and redemption to the peoples of the world, regardless of their individual cultural position or religious affiliation, if they have one at all. This transcends nations and culture and religious ideology. This transcends the controversies regarding these things because it is a new message from God for the redemption and the preparation of the whole world for a reality and a future that will be very different from the past. Only God can provide such a thing. For even at this moment, the religions are divided, even within themselves. They are contentious and unable to address adequately the great rising global problems that will overtake humanity in the future if it is unprepared. Arguing over who has the best religion or the most astounding founder can only harm humanity now. It is divine, it is divisive and exclusive. It adds to the dilemma and the fracturing of the human family. God knows better. And the one chosen to bring the revelation is the perfect one. He has passed the tests. He has not failed the long preparation and all that it required of him and of his family. And people will resist this and resent it and accuse the messenger of all manner of things. But he is the one. Failure to see this value and his role is a failure on the part of the perceiver, a failure to recognize and to receive the great blessing that God is now sending into the world. The messenger has no pride. He is a humble man. But he must accept the great calling and the great responsibilities this places upon him, and the great travail he will have to face in bringing a new revelation into the world. God has spoken again. And God's revelation is not for some elite group or the culturally privileged, the wealthy, and the indulgent. It is for the person at every rank and station of society. Every society, even the most primitive, the most advanced, the most isolated, or the most global. Only the wisdom of the Creator can speak like this, through the angelic presence, through the voice of revelation, which you are hearing at this moment. The mission of the messenger is to bring the revelation into the world, to find its first respondents, to give them the opportunity to engage with the revelation and to come to terms with their own deeper nature and calling in life. That is why a great deal of the teaching has been given to pave the way for personal revelation for those who can receive it, adapt to it, and apply it in their lives successfully. Its demands are not great, except that it calls for a greater honesty than most people demonstrate at this moment. An honesty not simply to project one's ideas and beliefs upon the world, but to recognize the deeper current of one's life, and in a state of humility and determination, choose to follow that. For that is the power and the presence of knowledge in the individual, which God's revelation reveals fully for the first time. Here there are no heroes to worship. There's no judgment day. Here there's no final test, which nearly everyone would fail anyway. For God knows better than this. God knows that without knowledge, people would falter and fail, make foolish mistakes, and give their lives over to and succumb to dangerous and oppressive forces. For without the power of God in the individual to guide them, what else would they do but demonstrate their weakness and their confusion and the fact that their life is dominated by others? You see, the God of your world is the God of the entire greater community, the entire universe. A billion races and more in one galaxy and amongst many galaxies and other dimensions and the unchanging creation beyond that. You're dealing with a God now of such greatness and expansion that your ideas and your beliefs pale and falter in the face of such magnificence. This is the God that has placed knowledge within you to guide you and to bless you and to prepare you for a greater life. Take you out of your groveling and your pathetic engagements and self-pity to restore honor and dignity to you, self-respect, graciousness, compassion, and humility. It is the mission of the messenger to teach these things, to offer these things, to endure the resistance and the rejection of those who cannot see and will not know. This is the greater calling, you see. This is what restores the individual and gives the promise for a greater life. This is what brings honor and dignity to all people, even the poorest of the poor who live in degradation. This is to establish a greater ethic of unity and cooperation in the face of a world of diminishing resources. Can you even imagine such a world? You who have lived in a state of plenty, perhaps? Can you imagine what this could do to the human family? It could destroy human civilization. Humanity's encounter with aggressive forces acting surreptitiously in the world could bring down and destroy human civilization. People do not know this. They do not think of this. Perhaps it is too much for them. They who have given all of their thoughts to little things, afraid of losing their privileges. They do not see the bigger picture, which will determine the outcome for everyone. But for those who can see and hear, the revelation will speak to them, and they will be the first to respond. And through them, the revelation will speak to those who have been more preoccupied and less able to see the great events coming over the horizon. One man cannot do all this. It will take the engagement of many working in concert with the messenger. And then you have the problem of people who are self-seeking and aggressive, who believe they are so very important in the universe, claiming to have their own version, acting out of concert with the messenger, trying to wed the new revelation with other teachings or with their own ideas. That is the corruption that happens whenever anything that is pure is brought into the world. And that is why the revelation is being given before the proclamation. That is why it is in writing. That is why you can hear the voice of revelation for the first time in human history. Such a voice that spoke to the Jesus, to the Buddha, and to the Muhammad. You can hear. Can you hear? You who listen to so many other things of little value, can you hear these words? Even if you are doubtful and suspicious, can you hear the message and the revelation? It is as plain as day, without deception, without complexity, without human commentary, to cloud the stream and to pollute the atmosphere of the revelation. The mission of the messenger is to establish God's revelation here sufficiently within his remaining years, so that humanity can begin to prepare for a changing world and prepare for its engagement with the greater community itself. This will change your theology. This will change your understanding of God and how God works in the world. This will change your fundamental religious beliefs about what redemption means, because when you think of God and the greater community, it changes everything. What is heaven for a billion races and more? And what is hell when you know that God has put knowledge within you and you can never escape it? It's blessing and it's redemption. What is one's religious affiliation with the understanding that there are billions and billions of religions in the universe, either more or less connected to the reality of God's presence and power? Who can say when God will speak again? Who, without arrogance and ignorance, can say that God cannot speak again? Even God's messengers cannot say that. Even the angelic host cannot say that. So what person can claim such authority and determine what God will do next? It is the epitome of arrogance and foolishness. The mission of the messenger will have to face all of these things. It will have to face intellectual arrogance. It will have to face outright blind rejection. It will have to face every form of accusation. This towards one who is bringing the greatest expression of God's love that has been received in 1400 years. This is directed at one whose life, through facing difficulty and imperfect, is nonetheless a demonstration of the revelation itself. For the first time in history, in human history, the world, the whole world, can witness the process of revelation instead of only hearing about it through distant tales and fantasy and fantastic stories. For the first time, the human family can hear the voice of revelation, read the words of revelation, not as they were portrayed centuries later by people who did not know the messenger, not carried on through oral tradition for the benefit of illiterate populations, but something right in this moment. For humanity does not have centuries to come to terms with this. The change that is underway is too rapid. The convergence of greater forces is too powerful and overwhelming. Around the world, people are feeling anticipation and anxiety about the direction of the world. Whatever they ascribe these fears to, or however they might try to define it, it is because they are feeling the great waves of change that are coming to the world. They are feeling that humanity is becoming ever more weak, vulnerable, subject now to forces beyond its awareness. It is because of this that God has sent the revelation into the world. It is because of this that the messenger is here. Now let's take a few moments to be with the messenger and send him our love and our gratitude and our strength. Now see if there's anyone else in the world that you would like to send this love and gratitude and strength to, or another quality, and take a moment. Nazi Novare Karan. Thank you very much for coming.